Well, with Fuentes, the inertia he brings is really just a huge following. I think that from a clinical perspective, he's a very delusional, attention seeking, narcissistic. There are so many ways to describe him. He probably has multiple personality disorders. I don't know what his childhood was like, but I think he's borderline psychotic and probably a sociopath. I don't think I gain anything from listening to him because he has such a huge following that there's so many other people who are listening to him that I guess it's good to know what that message is because it's being it's being percolated to so many people, but I just don't think that listening to him is going to like give me any more like insight or any sort of like learning opportunity.
Well, I mean, he represents a movement, so listening to him will make you understand the movement that he represents.
I've listened to him before, not at length, but I know enough that I don't think he's going to present any actual information or evidence that is going to make me like shift my views. Like, I don't think he's qualified to
Yep.
give reputable information.
The reason you listen to them is not to see if you could be convinced by them. What you're learning when you're listening to what they're saying. What do these people believe? How do they get convinced? By what do
Yeah.
they get convinced? That's the point of listening to them. Not I'm going to get convinced by their ideology, but there is a lot to learn. I think.
I think that
Hello.
understanding the psychology of
Yeah.
why and how people obtain that cult mindset, I don't think it's I don't think it's as complicated as like maybe we like to think it is. I think it's really just groupthink with some sort of fear of the other. It's like exploitation. I don't think it's that multi-layered. I think these are just like we're not solving like a
I think
five-dimensional
you're right. I think that's I think that's the reason they grow because of underestimating them.
Do you guys
Yeah.
hear
Go on,
me?
Deborah.
Yeah,
Yep.
I
Yes.
don't want
You,
just to take Dabra. Didn't Dab wanted to say something too? It's
Deborah.
okay for
Deborah
me to
raised her
talk?
hand. Yes. She raised her hand after you, so I
Yeah,
was gonna
you guys
go
go
with
ahead.
you.
It's not a
Yeah,
big
yeah,
deal.
yeah. Trust me, I
Ah,
always like to hear what Deborah has to say. So I'm not gonna. When I
okay,
see her
okay,
raise
okay,
her
okay.
hand,
Oh
I'm
no.
always gonna make sure that she talks. Yes, for
I think
sure.
I have 2 points. I think Zanif is just probably hard for him to say, but he basically probably says that is no new information from Nick Fuentes. Is always repeating the same things, and there is not really benefiting us to listening him again and again and again. I think the problem is people not having fun anymore, and the only fun they have is by hating stuff. This is what Nick Fuentes does basically. He's hating and making all these memes from hating. I think people need to have some fun by being right, you know? Like it's fun to do other stuff that not include what I don't know how it happened that everyone is brainwashed about war. Like that it's fun to kill people. It's more fun to do stuff together, to connect people.
Actually, I listened to him, and he actually does frame it in a package that it's a lot more interesting,
Mhm,
and also it's a lot more sellable, and it
mhm,
actually offs as compassion. And also, when you're saying like people don't like they're anti-war, so I don't know if you're saying like they're actually extreme, like their movement is extremely anti-war. In fact, I am
mhm,
pro-war because I think it
mhm.
takes war to stop war, and they are almost pacifists. Like that's how anti-war they are. So I think again, this is why you should listen to them because we don't understand their movement. And also,
Okay.
they do a really good job in making Jew hatred seem not hateful at all, and even compassionate to Jews themselves. That's how good they are at what they do. And I've never seen it among other Jew haters where he's really good at what he does, and he's very entertaining. Unfortunately, he's very entertaining and he's very charismatic, and he is pretty smart. So that's why I think dismissing him as somebody who's just repeating stuff in an unintelligent way is one reason why these movements grow so fast. And maybe Deborah, what do you think, Deborah?
Hard to listen to guys like him. The only time I can tolerate listening to him is when Armin can sit right beside the video and refute it.
Right.
I'm serious. I will pull my hair out and burn the house down listening to guys like that. This is so insane that people have these views, but Armin is right. There's a lot of people sucking it up. I go on spaces a lot on X and I come across them more and more, and it's unbelievable that people
Right.
believe this stuff. So yeah, for me, I got to figure out how to counter these guys without. I get too emotional. I don't know, but yeah, you guys, thanks. So like, you guys kind of keep me on the level a little bit.
Yeah,
Okay,
actually,
Zunair and then me. Oh,
yes.
Zunair raised his hand. So Zunair and then Sabra and then me.
You make a good point, Armin. I think that Fuentes, I actually do not listen to him on length. So the only exposure I really have from him are clips that I see from other podcasters, which obviously are a selection bias. But the things I have heard, I mean, one thing that you said was he tends to be anti war. But I remember seeing a clip with him with Piers Morgan where he's talking about the Nazis and talking about how he found their ideology and the way they dress and the way they present themselves is very compelling. I would say the Nazi ideology intrinsically is a warlike authoritarian fascist ideology. And the fact that he finds that compelling makes him not as anti war as he thinks he likes to be. Another point I'd like to make is I think he's probably well spoken and charismatic, but I don't think that equates to smart or intelligent. I think being able to gain viewers from being charismatic or saying things that might gain attention doesn't make you necessarily intelligent.
Yeah, you're right. He is anti-war. He is promoting to basically do nothing and just change the motives, let's say. Like he's trying to be isolationist. Yeah, that's true. But I think all of these getting like destroyed by just knowledge, just sharing knowledge. We need to educate the younger kids, right? The education system doesn't do it for some reason. And I think we already talked about it before in the past, right? So I think our focus should be how we educate them in a fun way when we are from afar. Basically, how to make it like a social circle that is like making them having fun. Like it's all about fun, like having fun. It doesn't matter what is going to be the message. It's just about us having fun.
Right. Yeah, I mean, being entertaining and interesting is very important. You can't just be educational. And so, for example, like one thing, for example, was very interesting to me is how much these people say actually Jews are pretty awesome and we kind of like them and we understand why they do what they do. And, you know, they're special people and history was mean to them, and some of the reactions they have could be understood and actually they admire them in many ways. However, they're the enemy and we admire them as the enemy, right? And they're good for themselves, but they're bad for us. So this is like a, because when you think about Jew haters, you think like people who hate Jews, right? But their narrative, like Nick's narrative, is now, we don't hate them. They're just the enemy. We might even admire them as a very, as an enemy to be taken seriously, and an enemy that is pretty good at being an enemy. But nevertheless, they are the enemy. But the thing is, that's actually more dangerous than your
Mhm.
average Jew hater. You know what I mean? Like,
No,
because
but
your
it's
average Jew
still,
hater,
yeah, but it still plays on Jew hatred, like this, like we admire them. It's not really. It's like the Holocaust denier, and then he's like promoting
no,
the Holocaust. Like you have these two
he's not.
faces people, like that they
Yeah, yeah,
say
but
something
but
that
I'm
they
making
are
a point.
against,
I'm making
and then they
a point. I'm
promote
not
it on the.
excusing it. I'm saying this is more difficult to fight against because it comes off of somebody that doesn't even hate people, right? He's like, I'm a Christian. I don't hate people. I don't hate Jews. When it comes to his narrative on war, he's actually very careful with his words. When it comes
Mhm.
to Stalin and Hitler, he doesn't say they were good people or that they are people who we should do. He says like he's against genocide because he thinks anyone's life being taken away is a tragedy. When he
Mhm.
says I think they're cool, he's speaking from an aesthetic perspective, not on a moral judgment. Like in a way that you think like Thanos is cool or that villain in that cartoon is pretty cool. World War II is just cool. These are just cool to watch. For example, if you see a university professor finding the Nazis cool to study, you wouldn't attack that professor. He's interested in the Nazis and studying them. If somebody is interested in cancer cells, I think cancer cells are pretty cool. Right? You wouldn't say like, "Holy fuck, you love cancer?" No, he doesn't like what cancer does, but he just finds them fascinating to look at. So that's the way he uses the word cool. He says like, "I'm anti-war, I'm anti-genocide. I don't want anyone to die." But that
Yeah.
was a pretty interesting part of history. So that's how he basically lives on plausible deniability, right? The people who might actually love what Hitler did kind of like what he's saying, but he could also say, "Well, as a Christian, I don't like what Hitler did." And yeah,
Yeah,
right.
have
So
already a counter argument for that, right? We have like basically all these powers that he catered to, they all failed. Like we can all point
yeah,
the failings, like the
but
Nazis
that
who
doesn't
being crackheads
again,
and
the
the
point is that
Russians
he
who
just
was
thinks
alcoholic.
yeah, but that's not a counter argument to the point that he's making. Okay, so for example, if Thanos died, they're like, "Oh, you think Thanos is cool? Well, he died." Okay, I still think it was a cool character in the movie. So that's what
Yeah,
he
but
you know.
yeah, but the loss here is bigger than that. You're gonna lose good food. You're gonna lose good drinking.
But the point is not that he agrees, he says that he doesn't agree with any of those things. Okay?
Mhm.
Saying the aesthetics is cool doesn't mean that he's endorsing those actions, right? Anyways,
Mhm.
I was interested when Deborah wants to speak again because she says it's hard to listen to these. But Deborah, you actually studied, Hizb ut-Tahrir and Islam, and I think another cult. So I was interested
I
to
was
know
in
how.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, you were in it actually. So,
Maybe that's why it's
so
so
I
hard
don't.
to listen to.
Oh, it reminds you of them? Okay. Oh, I disagree with your point that he's not smart. When I said he's smart, I didn't mean it just because he has followers. If you actually listen to him, he's well read and understands statistics in a way that seems like a lot of analysts in the media don't understand. And like sometimes when he makes his point, even if the conclusion is wrong, how many people talking to him don't understand the point he's making? And he's like at a higher level than them. I mean, I disagree with his conclusion, and I think there's a better way to show him what. I mean, sometimes I actually agree with his like so many times when he's talking about you know migration, mass migration, or crime rates of different people within a population, he's completely right that the person who's denying it doesn't even understand how he's reading the statistics. When I listen to him, I get frustrated because the other person who's supposed to be challenging him is not even at his level. After looking at him in debate, I do really think he's smart. The main thing I don't understand is how, if I ever could talk to him, I would love to ask is that where the fuck does he get his evidence for Jews being the enemies of the West or Jews controlling the world? With so many other things, he seems to go deep into finding the evidence, but when it comes to Jews, he just makes random claims without providing any evidence. With many other topics, he's quite intelligent about the way he delivers his arguments, and that's actually makes him more dangerous.
I don't really watch him on a regular basis, so I really don't know all of his waves and what exactly he says. But from what I'm hearing thus far, and I could be wrong, is that he represents the problem I have with religious people in general, especially religious moderates. And that is a very prominent incoherence that they will say one thing, do another. They will use the Quran or the Bible to justify something, saying, oh, I want to treat people the way I want people to treat me. And the golden rule, they use all of these superfluous, meaningless statements that maybe is not consistent with how they think. And so I think he might say things. He probably talks a lot. Anytime someone speaks a lot, they're likely to say things that are not 100% consistent. From what you've told, saying oh, he's anti-war or he's really smart, I just think that like what the Jaw was saying about him being a little schizophrenic. I don't think he's actually clinically schizophrenic, but I do think he is contradictory. I think that he argues from a position of bad faith, which is a word I don't like to use. But I don't think that when he talks about respecting the Jews or talking about how Jewish people are resourceful or intelligent or he has respect for them, I don't think that is legitimate. I think he is feigning respect, probably to make his point more salient. And so I do see him as more insidious. I think Armin has a point that when people present that way in a more approachable way, that if someone does have any sort of bias towards Jewish people, they can aligning themselves with Fuentes, who says things like that. He's probably been recorded saying things like that, and he can probably be clipped or quoted. So, as a quick retort, if anyone says, "Oh no, he's anti-Semitic," people can just clip that soundbite and say, "No, he said that Jews are great and really intelligent." And it's used as a very soft defense against accusations that probably hold more gravity than his feigning of respect for other people.
He says he's anti-war, and I know these guys come from a place where they blame the Jews for all the wars. So him saying I'm anti-war is literally saying, because the Jews start all the wars. He has all these crafty little things he throws in there. He thinks he's so smart. I think a lot of this, well, he won't show his proof for half of the stuff because it's really weak. If you look at Europa, the last battle, it's a 12-hour documentary and it's an anti Semitic documentary, but you can see where they get everything from. They blame socialism on Jews, they blame Marxism on Jews, they blame everything because there was maybe one Jew involved in that whole crowd. It's really horrible. But when you see that stuff, it's all the propaganda that Hitler was putting out during those days. So they're sucking all that up like it's real, true stuff. So they're not very deep. And that's why he constantly contradicts himself too, because it doesn't go very deep. Like they sound all smart and they think they're so smart because they're reading like this rhetoric, but I don't know.
What I was talking about before is about fun, right? Having fun and stuff. Because I think this is really the most important one. We can frame all these other groups as like fun killjoyers, like no someone who destroy fun, right? Because
Yep.
it's not that fun to be in their groups. All of their groups do not do anything. Like I think by just start doing stuff, it could be fun, like for people, to come up with some ideas of socialization. The problem is it's not going to help us to talk all the time about the Jews or about economics or stuff like that if we're not connecting to the younger generation. Like for who we doing that? We're just talking to ourselves. So we have to talk to the younger people and try to connect them to each other, because we're not getting laid like we said before. We're not having fun, we're not having social groups, so it's easier for them to get radicalized. If we're gonna have bigger groups, of people who they meet, and if we are gonna connect them, they're gonna have kind of the same ideas, because we can show them all the time when they question us about that, right? So I think this is more important thing to do than just like do defense.
What I noticed with anti-Zionist leftists is they like to listen to the very extremes in Israel. They like to listen to the extremely far left Israelis who are trying to tokenize themselves and say, like, yeah, Israel's a fucked up racist society that's genocidal. They like to listen to those people because those people validate the version of reality they want to believe, which is that Israel's a fucked up genocidal country because they, rubber stamp it. And then they like to listen to like the extreme far right religious fanatics like the Ben Gvir and Schmutrik because they also validate the version of reality they want to believe because Ben Gvir and Schmutrik are fucked up racist genocidal people. So they value that so they validate that version of reality. And I'm wondering with Nick Fuentes, like I know he has a large following, but like how much of it really is people who actually share his view and how much is it like, you know, combination of like, people who do some people who share his view, but like a lot of people who like to listen to him because they validate his version of their version of reality that the right is fucked up racist misogynistic people the same way that like a lot of leftist anti-zionists like to listen to Ben Gvir because Ben Gvir validates their version of reality that Israel is a fucked up racist country. by being a fucked up racist person. Similarly, like how much is it like leftists like listening to Nick Fuentes because he validates their version of reality that the right is a fucked up racist, you know, fucked up and racist by being presenting himself as a right-leaning person who is fucked up and racist and misogynistic.
It's interesting. I could see why somebody could feel like that is how it might be in America, but I've noticed that it's not like that. I don't think leftists really like to talk about Nick Fuentes because in America it has become very obvious that the people from the right that the leftists hate, they actually hate Nick Fuentes. You know what I mean? Nick
Yeah.
Fuentes is not like the conservatives and the right
Mhm,
leaning people in America, they hate Nick Fuentes. All right. So Nick Fuentes shows that a lot of the people that the left called racist are not actually racist because the conservatives in America are calling out Nick Fuentes as being racist.
mhm,
Right. And so I think it's inconvenient to like I think leftists prefer focusing on Trump, for example, right?
mhm,
Because or some other mainstream conservatives because they want to show that oh my god these people are monsters genocidal, but given that so many of them are calling out Nick Fuentes, then highlighting Nick Fuentes is not that convenient for them. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I mean,
it's
for
just it's
example,
hard to, like, just
yeah.
think that, like, too many like, it's hard for me to like, psychologically understand how people find him, like, his views to be, like, normal views.
Oh, but the human mind likes a conspiracy and hidden
Yeah,
secrets and
yeah,
being able to blame just one
mhm,
main thing for their problems, right?
yeah,
It's just so easy. Actually, it's so entertaining and it's really good for your stress and anxiety to just
mhm,
blame one entity for all your problems. Like you just
yeah,
pack it all in one. As an atheist, I think this is the reason why humans create God, right? Because it just makes the explaining the world or the devil easier, right? And I think like Nick blaming the Jews, I mean, why not the Jews? If you want to blame any other group of people for all the evil, you have to reinvent the wheel. But
mhm,
Jews have historically been blamed for shit, and it comes with a template,
mhm,
right? It has all the conspiracy theories, all the tropes, all the
yeah,
accusations. The packaging is already there, and you just need to add your own brand to it. Now you have something you could sell to your audience. We do have other packagings as well. You could go with the
mhm,
Illuminati, you could go with lizard people, you could go with Satanists. But if you've noticed recently, all of these are now just the Jews, right? Globalists, lizard people, Satanists,
Synagogue of
um,
Satan. That's what they say.
all of this is just Jews to people.
or
I said there are other packages like lizard people, Illuminati, Satanists, globalists, but blaming the Jews is the most convenient one. So now even some of these terms are now just means the Jews. The globalist now just means the Jews. Satanist for so many people just now means the Jews for some reason because
Some
it's
people
just too
think Jews are
complicated.
lizard people.
What?
Some people think Jews are lizard people.
Exactly. Like we had multiple conspiracy theories and now they're merging together. They're all
Exactly.
becoming Jews.
Exactly.
The whole Q people, like all the Q guys, turned into this
Oh,
in that
really?
direction. All the Q guys
Yeah.
Can you
are
tell us
heading
about
in
that?
that
Have
direction.
you been
Yeah,
following the
because
Q
here's the
people?
thing. Yeah, so I've been in the conservative communities. It's like the MAGA groups, and they're divided. So you got the Q people who thought the whole time that Trump has been president in the background, pulling the strings and just sit back and watch the show kind of deal. Those people are now, it's so weird, like they're pro Palestine. And it's like everything is the Jews' fault. The last time one of them came into my space, he said, "Did you know that Jews can go to the Bank of America and get a loan with no interest?" That he just threw that out there. I'm like, what? That's so not true. There's not even a shred of truth to that. But that's the kind of garbage that they start throwing out there.
Wait, this doesn't make sense to me. How the Q people used to worship Trump, right?
Yeah, a
And
lot of them are turning
not
on him now. Yeah.
are they even the QAnon
Well, so
people?
okay, well, some
Yeah.
of them will say that okay, he's separating from Netanyahu and Israel and trying to take over that whole thing.
So when Trump is saying that he loves Israel, he's lying?
Oh yeah.
Is that really a common belief?
It's a
Well, I
subset.
mean, it's not a large group really in the grand scheme of things, but those guys, like the Q realm, yeah.
Have most of them turned against Trump, or are they just
Um,
finding
the
supporter?
ones that I was around, for the most part, they think I don't think they've turned on Trump, but they've really just shifted all the blame to the Jews now. Like it's weird. They don't even talk about the dangers of Islam anymore because apparently the Jews created it all. So the Jews made up Islam. So can't blame the Muslims, right? You know?
Wait, so Hamas and is that was a false flag as well? October.
Oh, yeah,
Oc-
for sure. So 9/11 is absolutely a write off. Like, you can't blame Muslims for that anymore. It's only the Jews and like Mossad did that and CIA.
Exactly.
Those guys did it all.
These people used to be so anti-Muslim, and now we can't blame Muslims from 9/11.
Like
Like it's
yesterday,
definitely not
somebody told me that America and the Mossad created all the jihadi groups on the planet,
of
like every
course.
single one. Yeah,
Exactly. You can't even blame the Muslims for 9/11 anymore. You'll get
not at all.
some retard to come out and say, here's your 7K. They get really mad at you.
I have literally told them, you need to go join those marches in the streets right now because you're exactly the same right now.
What has been the response when you say that, Deborah?
Oh, well, I just get sworn at and I don't know anything. It's like I lived it for 12 years. So you're saying that was all
Here.
totally discredit my whole life experience. Like they won't even believe me. Like it's so disgusting.
The guy in Dearborn who brought the Quran out to burn, he was slapping bacon up against it. You have this guy's a Jew. He's not a real Christian. They're defending the Muslims who attacked him. He got punched in the face. He got shoved. They're defending
Yeah.
Muslims against the Jews. You have people who think that the Christians and Muslims should join up against the Jews. Like no more brother wars and all that. It's
God.
totally nuts.
Yeah, you would think that Christians and Jews are supposed to unite against the Islamic threat to Western civilization.
No, they are
no.
hardcore blaming Jews for killing Jesus now. Now it's
Yes.
like they killed Jesus. Like,
Back to that.
how can you be an ally with Jews when they're the ones that killed Jesus?
I'm just like, we're back to the whole we kill Jesus shit. Like, really? It circles back
Yeah,
to all
coming out again. All the
again?
old ridiculous garbage is coming out like it's new and edgy.
Exactly.
Deborah,
Yeah.
what do they say when you tell them that Jesus was a Jew himself? Have you?
Oh,
I'm
I've been
curious.
told that Jesus was not even Jewish. Cleopatra is one of
Huh?
where his mother came from that line. And
Cleopatra?
oh, I'm telling you, I've heard the craziest stuff. No, this guy,
How
like
did
he went because,
Cleopatra?
here's the thing.
Get into all of this?
Yeah, good
What the
question. I
fuck?
told him, well, this guy thinks he's a descendant of Alexander the Great. And when they become so white supremacist, they can't even accept that Jesus is Jewish. So they're like, no, that's the wrong lineage. They lied. He's actually this, you know.
But it's in their
But
own. But his,
Cleopatra's not white
it's in
though.
their own books. It's in their own holy books. Lineage is in their
Yeah.
books.
So I don't get to discuss much because I end up just kicking them out. I should learn to discuss better. But
Dude,
it's like it's just disgusting.
Did y'all?
you're absolutely right, Deborah. The funny thing about this is that some of these people go a lot farther than that. They say that the Israelites themselves weren't Jews, that the Israelites were white. Some even take it back to Adam and Eve, and then you get groups like Christian Identity who believe that whites are the chosen people, Adam and Eve were white. Non-whites are beasts of the field. They're not even human. Cain was the first Jew. It's shit like that. It's a whole rabbit hole.
You get the groups that follow the Nazi ideology. They weren't Christian. They were more going for the Norse religions and stuff because they're actually white, like Nordic stuff. When you see people on X and they're all like Thor and Norse stuff, you know exactly why. Like that's how they
We're
present.
What will happen is they cannot. I mean, the whole idea of Jesus is, sorry to butt in, but the whole idea of Jesus is that he's a descendant of King David. Otherwise, it's not valid. So what happens
Exactly.
in the
Exactly.
end is they reject Christianity and say that the whole religion is a Jewish psyop. Anyway,
Exactly.
Yeah, the Jews
Yeah,
created.
they end up becoming what is that religion where Thor, the
it's like
Viking?
Norse something because the
Yeah,
same
something like
happened with
that.
Hitler. Same
Yeah,
happened with the
Yeah, that's what
Nazis.
I'm
They ended
saying.
up
They follow the
killing.
same.
Yeah,
Hitler was weird. The Nazis were kind of schizo on that whole thing. Hitler claimed to be a Christian. He said that Jesus was an Aryan. He said that in Mein Kampf. He said he was simply completing the Lord's work. You had people who were Christians, but then of course you also had guys like Himmler who were into the whole neo-pagan thing.
Oh, right.
Yeah, Nick. That's one thing Nick Fuentes doesn't like about Hitler: the fact that he was pagan. Yeah.
he would say different things to different people. Like I said, he would claim that he professed to support Jesus. He had what he called positive Christianity, which was an attempt to purify Christianity and remove it from its Jewish roots and go back to old school anti-Semitic medieval Christianity.
yeah,
That's
but
what
they're
he.
still stuck in the end with Jesus is a descendant of King David, and we don't worship a Jew.
Yeah, of course. But like when you look back at the medieval times, Christians hated Jews. They burned them alive. Even then, you have a large portion of the Christian world that just hated Jews. So they were also very schizophrenic. People are weird, man. I mean, none of this makes
Yeah.
any sense. It's
By the
just
way,
it's
this
just
idea that we hate them, I mean, all you have
yeah,
to do is look at the polls of which people love America more than anyone else, and we're always in the top three.
The
Like
Jews
America.
literally, Israel is like
pro-American,
Marmin always says the protection against the Middle East.
but the Israeli
But
people are some of the most pro-American people in the world.
Yeah. Pro
but also, why would we
secularism,
hate
pro
America?
everything.
America defeated the Nazis, so why would we
Yeah.
hate Americans? They're like we should be.
So another
Because
thing
you were
is,
working with Hitler and you invented Hitler. So, like, is that?
yeah,
I'm just
of
making stuff up.
course, it's your
That,
fault.
of course,
Yes.
yes. You,
Well, my
in
answer to
fact,
this,
Hitler,
we
in
But
fact,
invented
here's the
everything.
Was
thing.
I
a,
mean,
in fact,
No, but
Hitler
they
was a
point
Jewish
to
conspiracy
Soros
to
a
make
lot.
themselves.
yeah.
No. I'm inventing this right now. Okay, you guys made up Hitler, and he was one of you guys, so that you could look like the victim to the world forever, and basically use that
Oh,
narrative to keep just,
there you go.
ge- getting
He's
the world
yeah.
to do you
also
favors.
invented the
Yes.
alphabet, so in order
Yeah.
to use people's ability to read to manipulate them. See,
Exactly.
that's why the
Yes.
alphabet exists. Otherwise, what's the point? Yeah.
I mean, honestly, why even fight you guys? You guys are so powerful. Like, what's the point of fighting?
Exactly. You've
Well,
literally got
Armin, obviously you're Mossad too. Like that's the only reason you're successful.
No, I'm just saying, based on their own narrative, if they have this much control, you guys cannot win.